Welcome to the final Class 12 of Millionaire Coaches Marketing Playbook. We are going to review your marketing arsenal tonight. So we're going to go through all of the stuff that we've been working on and answer any outstanding questions you have about the marketing side of your business. But before we do that, I want to acknowledge that you have everything you need to build a seven-figure coaching business. From all the work that we've done together up to this point, you have the strategy, you have the tactics, and really what it comes down to is just taking the actions that we've outlined in this course together. And so it's important to really think about that from that perspective, because all you need is within you now. And understanding that it really is just about execution at this point. And I will make sure that during this class, if there's any particular questions or outstanding concerns that you have, we address that. But before we do that, I'm going to ask you three questions, and I want you to write these down because they're the three questions that are going to really help you propel you forward, especially as we come into this November time frame as we're going into 2019. It's a great time to sort of take a step back and think about these three most important questions. Number one is know your outcome. So what I'd love you to do is to write down, what do you really want? Just take a minute and think about that. And as you finish up that first question, answer that first question, what do you really want? Here's the second question, which is understanding and knowing your purpose. Why is this outcome a must for you, not a should? And lastly, to take massive action, how will you crush your outcomes? What is your action plan? Or more importantly, what is your massive action plan so that you can accomplish that outcome? So, Tricia, can I call on you? Can I ask you to share what you wrote down, if you don't mind?
I said to surpass my corporate income and to work from anywhere in the world.
Beautiful. And why is that a must for you?
Because anything else would be like living in hell on earth.
Nice. That will give you some leverage.
Yeah.
So how are you going to crush that outcome?
I will enlist help, which is major for me because I don't like asking for help. And I will do everything that I think of instead of hesitating and second-guessing myself.
Beautiful.
So, take action.
Awesome. That's fabulous. And, you know, one of the things I want to notice is the passion in your voice when you said this. There was no hesitation. There was no timidness. It was there. It was solid. And I appreciate that because that will propel you forward in what you're about to set out to do, which is awesome. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to share what they wrote down? No worries. So then let's open this up a little bit further and talk specifically about what you've learned over the last 12 courses we've done together, last 11, I should say, because I think it's important the key takeaways that you have can also support other coaches. So in thinking about this whole 12-week course, what are some of the key takeaways that you've learned?
This is Tricia. I think one of the biggest things that I've learned is that marketing and my marketing plan doesn't have to be this, I don't know, contrived, coercive type of thing where, you know, it's like you're trying to fool somebody into doing business with you. But it can actually come from a very authentic place, and it can be molded to your own strengths.
Love that. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that if somebody feels that they've been, pulled over on them, it's the worst thing that could happen from a marketing perspective, not only because they'll feel disenfranchised with your offer, but they're likely to disparage you, and it's the opposite of raving fans. You have someone who is a detractor. So I love that coming from a place of authenticity is going to connect you with the audience that you can serve at the highest level. So fabulous insight. Thank you for sharing that. What else? Mara, I know you're dying to jump in here.
Yeah, I am. I try to share the stage. For me, I have learned that, I complicate things. I make things harder than what they need to be because I want them to be perfect. And it's not about being perfect. It's about being of action. Nice. So, it's okay to jump in and make mistakes. Be that cannonball, as I've referred to it before, and open up and see what comes from that. And also it's important to have accountability in place as well for making those phone calls, having conversations. And, it doesn't have to be on a spreadsheet. Just be check marks on a piece of paper that I transfer over to the spreadsheet, because before I was complicating things by like, oh, my goodness, I'm not this, I'm not that. Well, everything is learned. So, yeah, that's what my takeaway is.
And the actions that you take are going to be a direct reflection of the growth that you experience. I can't stress that enough. One of the reasons why in the second class we introduced the Excel spreadsheet was because it's the kind of thing that most people don't pay attention to. How many conversations am I having on a weekly basis? Well, how many of those conversations are turning into, powerful coaching conversations? How many of those are turning into my offer? And then of those, how many of those are turning into clients? There is a direct path here. And the more actions we take, the more opportunities we put ourselves in front of others that are our tribe, the more likely we are to actually grow our business. And if we find that we're struggling in building the growth of the business, it's going to come back to looking at those activities and saying, how can I up the game even more? How can I go even further? How can I do even more than I've been doing? And that challenging of yourself is going to make sure that you get that outcome. When you think about it from a perspective of the most successful coaches I know, they're touching 50 people a day, let alone 50 people a week. And a lot of the struggling coaches that I've spoken to are very rarely talking to more than a handful of people in a week. So it really shows that, when you have that direct correlation, and to be perfect, to be perfectly fine with going out there and having conversations with where you're at, that will continue to deliver those results. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I think also key for me is that it's really, really important that I'm of service.
Yes. Nice.
But it's great to be paid being of service.
Yes, exactly. And I think that is that piece. Your business is not a charity. The coaching profession is not a charity. And as long as you're being paid for the value that you deliver, and it's so important that you are open to receive that. Awesome. So I'm going to take this into a little bit finer point on everything that we've discussed today. My objective for today is to leave you with an executive summary of everything we've discussed, all the work we've done, and give you a real good foundation that you can refer back to time and time again as you're building out your coaching practice. So what I want to acknowledge is that a shift has occurred, because we've gone from a place of transactions, where we're trying to get as many transactions as possible, to relationships. And this is true in coaching as it is with many other professions. As you're thinking about the folks that you're supporting, this movement is pretty global in nature. And if you think about the difference, when you're in a transaction mode, you're focusing on winning the sale, winning it now. You're focused on advertising, promotions, incentives. It's really short-sighted immediacy rather than intimacy. But when you look at relationships, it's about winning their hearts and winning them forever, developing deep connections and understanding their preferences and delivering on really powerful experiences. And then that longer-term focus and loyalty will bring you to the outcomes you really seek. I share this with you because, I don't get discouraged when I have powerful coaching conversations that don't lead into coaching clients. I share that with you because if you authentically come from a place where you're trying to develop a deep connection, understand the needs of the person in front of you, and serve them at the highest level, that will come back to you. Whether it's on that call, having them hire you as their coach, whether it's a referral that they give you down the road, whether they come back to you 6 months from now because they remembered how powerful that conversation was and they never get it out of their mind, it is not a transaction. It is about building deep rapport and deep relationships. And if you think about this, it's actually formed an alternative currency. It started off with sort of a money focus. And then that money, and industry-wide, the money went to personal data where people were focusing on the value, lifetime value of customers. And so we're getting to know who they are became paramount. But where we are today is time. Really, the most valuable commodity we have on this planet is our time. And so when we give our time to the people that we love and want to serve, that is the incredible value that we're delivering. And in doing it in a very powerful way, of a powerful coaching conversation, you're really creating those deep connections. So when you think about this from the perspective of a relationship journey map, it's designing these exceptional experiences, examining from the customer's perspective the best means of engaging, interacting, and addressing the mental, physical, and emotional journey through all stages of the relationship cycle. And so I'm going to talk about that further tonight, but I want to just give you some foundations here, because if you think about it, the path to purchase is no longer characterized by a linear marketing funnel. We get a lot of people talking about click funnels, a lot about, the funnel is so critically important, but not really. Customers are moving from one channel to another and touch points, and they switch devices to suit their needs. Someone who starts out an event can kind of look you up on their mobile device, go back and go to their laptop afterwards. They're seamlessly transitioning from one device to another. And so it's not linear. The relationship path here is very much based on your individual tribe and how they like to move. So understanding those different journeys that they have with your coaching business and the emotional responses they provoke is crucial to developing an effective customer experience. So let me lay this out. We've been talking about a lot of different strategies and tactics over the last 11 classes, but I think the best way to simplify this is to think about the customer journey as the 4 parts. There's the discovery part. These are all the ways in which your tribe can discover who you are, what you represent, and what you're after. Then there's the activation part, where you're engaging with prospects. These are the powerful coaching conversations. How do you move from a discovery to an invitation to allow them to have a powerful coaching conversation with you? That eventually leads to a transaction, where they basically hire you as their coach. And if we do it right, that leads to advocacy, creating raving fans, people who just love the work that they're doing with you and are really a testament to the powerful transformations that they've experienced. In the discovery area, we talked about search engine optimization, search engine marketing, Google specifically. We also talked about advertising, Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, etc. But when we started getting deeper into this, we really focused on things like the organic social media campaigns on LinkedIn, Facebook. How are we actually leveraging these platforms to help us with our message? And then going even further, speaking engagements, training, podcasts, books, all of these things continue to sort of allow us to focus deeper on our ideal customers and draw them into our business. And that could even take a form of print or direct mail or mobile campaigns, mobile marketing campaigns. And ultimately, when they're getting the discovery process, they're often coming across testimonials, reviews, and any type of rating systems. So you think about it from the perspective of when somebody's considering hiring you as their coach, they're doing some background checks. They're looking at who you are, what other people are saying about you, what their experiences have been, right? So this is all part of the discovery process. Chances are, if you're just starting out, this is the place where you're going to spend most of your time in year 1. Because year 1 and year 2, you're really focusing on how do I get the discovery up, how do I maximize the exposure that I'm getting, and people to get to know me as a coach. And it really breaks down like this. 93% of people use public search engines as the initial point of information discovery. That's nearly everyone, right? So when they're first looking to solve a problem, they're going to do a search. If you've put up content, and that's why we spend a lot of time doing content strategies, if you've got good articles, good videos, good podcasts, interviews, any of that stuff, it's going to show up in that search result. And that's going to help drive awareness for what you offer. Another 88% suggest that social channels are influential during the decision-making process. So after they've gone through and done their own search, they're going to go on and see what they can find out about you through social media. Are you on LinkedIn? Are you on Facebook? Are you on Twitter? Are you on Instagram? How do they find you? What are you saying? They're looking at sort of that information as well as what other people are saying about you. 70% cite customer opinion as the most trusted source of information. This makes sense. We talked about this in terms of referrals. If someone refers you as their coach, you have a much higher propensity to convert that introduction into an actual coaching client. And then in terms of support forums and discussion groups, these are groups within LinkedIn, for example. People are having conversations around specific topics. Maybe it's women in transition. Maybe it's career coaching. Maybe it's basically thinking about work-life balance. I mean, these are other forums where people are having live discussions about the value of coaching. And then, of course, if someone has a bad experience, 58% publish their brand product experience to protect others from a similar experience. So it's important that we understand if someone has not had a great experience with you, it behooves us to make sure that we resolve those conflicts, because if it's ignored, it's likely to really show up online in a major way, causing us more problems down the road. In terms of activation, right now, at the early stages of your business, social media listening is not going to be a big component of it, which is why we didn't spend a lot of time talking about it. But social media listening is when you're listening for customers talking about you, not to you. So this is the idea that you can pull information on Twitter about people asking about coaching, talking about specific coaches, having those conversations. That's where social media listening shows up. As you become a more successful coach and you do a lot more digital marketing, this is going to be an important thing to pay attention to. For now, you're just getting started. It's really not that critical. But then social media engagement is. When somebody's actually going on to your Facebook page and they're sending messages or comments, or you're posting content on LinkedIn and people are commenting and sharing, You want to be proactive there. You want to be able to respond to those comments, which leads you to the content strategy. All the places where your content shows up. This is how people are both going from a discovery phase to an activation phase, because they understand the content. They understand that you really have listened to their needs. That's why we spend a lot of time on that in this course, thinking about sort of what are the biggest pain points that my ideal customers have. What are their dreams? What are their aspirations? When your content marketing matches those dreams and aspirations as well as fears and doubts, you're going to draw people in. And that's when you're going to give them your irresistible offer, right? That's the free coaching session and the assessments or anything you're doing to help them on their journey. And then that also, in terms of activation, is where you're going to show up at speaking engagements, networking, and events, right? Any of these things are going to help you with activation because you're essentially getting people in a deeper conversation that'll help them consider hiring you as their coach, which leads to the most powerful one, which is powerful coaching conversations. If you really want to activate people who've discovered you, it's have that deep conversation with them. Make that conversation the most powerful conversation they've ever had in their life, and they'll never forget you. And then in terms of transaction, right, this is the different modalities of coaching: one-on-one, group, pre-recorded. You can also talk about public speaking. You get paid for your public speaking. You get paid to write books or articles. You get paid for training to be able to come into corporate or private businesses, help them understand the coaching modality in these contexts. Consulting and facilitating, mentoring, and masterminds. There's lots and lots of ways for you to be compensated for your great insights and the way in which you're able to conduct business. Coaching one-on-one is where we spent most of our time in this course, but it's important to understand that there's many, many, many ways to be engaged by the people that you're looking to attract. And so don't rule these out, right? If there's a better opportunity around having you come speak to a company, they're willing to pay you to speak on a particular topic that you've already written about from a content marketing perspective, great. If you can come in and do some training, help them really understand some of those components. These are all amazing ways to go from discovery and engagement to transaction. And then lastly, advocacy comes from these powerful breakthroughs. When somebody has an incredible, powerful breakthrough, they are just motivated to take action and advocate for your services. I showed what the very first testimonial that I received came unprompted. I shared that around when we were doing the testimonial section. And the reason was we had a hugely powerful conversation. It started out of the blue. I had a client who was struggling. I said, look, I can really hear it in your voice that you need some support, so let's block off 2 hours and let's just go deep. And we did. And by the end of that process, it was total transformation. And the guy is like, look, I need to do something for you right now. What can I do? And he said, I got it. And he basically put together a testimonial and sent that out to me as his gift for me, which is amazing. But that's the advocacy model. He's also willing to be a great referral source for me. I had the same thing happen with other clients where they've just had some incredible experiences and they start just talking about you and talking about what you've done for them. And then suddenly you got other people reaching out saying, hey, I want you what you gave that person. Great. Surprise and delight, using that same example, this was not part of our regular coaching agreement, but I realized that there was a need there and I wanted to serve my client powerfully. So that surprise and delight was, going deeper on time that was not scheduled and using that as an opportunity to deal with the problems when they were showing up. Any type of random acts of kindness that you do will be noticed. Your community management in terms of supporting the larger, broader challenges that your tribe struggles with will also be noticed. We talked about testimonials, which are huge, recommendations, and referrals. So any questions about these 4 quadrants of the customer journey before I go deeper? No? Makes sense?
Yep.
So then let's recap. Let's look at what we've done together over this course. We started with outcome, which is what do you really want? I asked you to do that again tonight because I wanted you to really focus on what is your outcome. And then what's your purpose? What's your why? And then your action, your massive action plan, that's your how. The problem is that most coaches start with the third ring out. They focus on the how. They focus on Facebook advertising. They focus on what can they do to build a click funnel, and they've really missed the opportunity to talk about their what and their why. Without the what and the why, the action plan is not so powerful. But if you have a real clear outcome of who you want to support and how you want to help them, you're really going to sort of have your ideal outcome of your what. What is it that I want to do as a coach? And your why. What's driving you to make sure that that all happens? From there, then you can make your massive action plan, and that's going to lead you to your who. Who am I doing this for? Where am I reaching them? And when? What's your frequency? How often are you reaching out and touching these people so that they can really understand what you have to offer? So just to use this for myself, if I think about my outcome, I'm doing my best to help other seven-figure coaches, build aspiring seven-figure coaches. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to touch more lives and empower more coaches. I really have a strong belief that if I can support coaches to create more successful business practices, they're going to be able to touch millions of lives over their lifetime. So this concept of building more successful seven-figure coaches means that I'm going to support coaches who are then able to support more clients. Supporting more clients, I truly believe, will make the world a better place. And I'm going to do that through public speaking, through writing, through training, and through coaching. And I know my who. These are aspiring seven-figure coaches, and they're motivated, they're brave, they're willing to take on these new challenges. And I'm going to look for all the different events and conferences, articles, podcasts, and referrals in order to basically continue to drive them forward. And I'm looking at a minimum of 50 per week. So how often can I actually touch these folks? I'm looking at 50 a week to keep that momentum going. So at the very beginning, we talked about stop casting a wide net, right? This is the number one mistake that most coaches make, is they know that they have the capability of having this very powerful tool called coaching, so they know they can do it to anyone, anywhere, anytime. The problem is when they do that, it really dilutes the message of what kind of a coach you are. So instead, we want to focus on being specialists, really thinking about the people we want to serve at the highest level and how we can really focus on the kinds of things that are most important in their lives. And if we think about the measurement side, what gets measured gets improved. So really thinking about how are we measuring the work that we're doing on a regular basis. So we're going to go to, stop trying to touch everyone all the time and focusing on your ideal customer. That ideal customer, what you want to be thinking about is how many times am I connecting with that ideal customer, inviting them into powerful coaching conversations, creating those powerful coaching conversations, making proposals, and then converting to clients. So we're not going to spend a lot, we're going to focus less on creating leads, prospects, and customers, and we're just going to go deeper. We're going to go deeper in these conversations than they would ever reasonably expect for us to go, and that's how we're going to connect. Because influence is the single most important skill that you can master in your lifetime, according to Tony Robbins, and I really believe that. So from powerful conversations to a coaching client, we talked about the pre-frame, the questions that we ask right before we get into our coaching conversation in terms of our offer. We ask questions like, how was that for you? What was the most valuable thing you experienced in our coaching session today? How are you moving forward? What accountability structures do you have or need to put in place? Right? These are all the pre-frames that lead to being able to nail your offer and specifically talk about what you receive and how you actually work as a coach. And that leads to either the hell yes or the no. And there is no such thing as a hell maybe. Maybe is hell. So we either want to get to a hell yes or a hell no and use that as an opportunity so we don't spend a lot of time in the land of maybe, because it's really not that supportive of our growth. We talked about the irresistible offer, the importance of coming up with a very powerful offer that's going to attract your tribe. And we talked about the 7 core elements of that, including alleviating pain and satisfying a deep desire, presenting your offer very clearly, backing up your offer with proof for people who've experienced the outcomes that they're looking for, having overcome known objections, and expecting that that's going to come up and what to do about it, displaying any type of clear return on investment whenever possible, give an astonishing guarantee whenever possible, and use that sense of urgency. Why is it important to be doing now? What's the cost of delay and just status quo of staying where things are? And then in terms of the best ways to engage your tribe, we talked about focus. Not trying to do everything, but doing what you love, whether that's producing videos, being interviewed on podcasts, or running your own podcast, or doing public speaking events, or even networking. We just want to engage your tribe so that you can give them their irresistible offer. And then we went deeper, and we looked at the brand called You. This is your image, your mission, your values, your vision. This is your brand attributes. These are the things you're known for. Your purpose, your core values, your strengths, skills, credibility, reasons to believe, tangible brand elements. In this homework assignment, you created your own personal brand framework, which is really powerful because it allows you to look and filter out things that don't resonate. By being clear on your purpose, your core values, strengths, skills, credibility, and tangible brand elements, you can create consistency throughout any video you produce, any article you write, any type of engagement that you have on your website. Then we went deeper with content, talking about the content strategies and content calendars. The best definition of marketing I'd ever heard came out by Seth Godin's book, which came out yesterday. This is Marketing. Marketing is a generous act of helping others become who they seek to become. It involves creating honest stories, stories that resonate and spread. Marketers offer solutions, opportunities for humans to solve their problems and move forward. That's what you're doing with content. At the end of the day, that authentic connection, which Tricia talked about at the very beginning, that is what's so critical. So your content strategy allows you to look through different modalities to generate more leads. There is no one perfect content strategy. You're looking at all the different ways to make those connections. And then we looked at advertising on LinkedIn. We looked at advertising on Facebook. We looked at advertising on Twitter, right? Using these social channels to magnify and amplify the messages that we're putting out there, usually through content. And then even Google. Whether it's search engine marketing or optimization, Google is a critical component of getting our message out there. We talked about the benefits of compounding over time by having that impact from your owned media. These are your social channels, your website, as well as these bumps that come up with paid media. And as we see, that earned media continues to grow with the increase in paid media. So as we basically do these bursts, it never quite comes down to where it started out with. The more activity we do, the more it continues to grow. Then we talked about the dangers of not pre-qualifying prospects and how you can get sidetracked, winding down these roads that just take you literally nowhere. So we designed the questions you need to have answered up front. The who, is this person my ideal customer? What could I ask to know for sure? The what, does this person have the problem that I'm most qualified to solve? The why, what is the mission, purpose, outcome of this person seeks, and can I help them? If the answer is no, it's not within integrity to take on that client, even if you want the business. It's if you can't help, how do I refer? How do I pass it along? How do I basically solve the problem? The when. By when does this person want to accomplish their mission? The fear. What is their greatest fear, uncertainty, or doubt? Status quo. What's preventing them from taking action already? And future state, vision. What do they really want? And then talking about how saying no helps you grow. This idea of not trying to take on everything and anything that comes in your path. Being very deliberate about where you want to focus your energy and get the outcomes you seek. Steve Jobs said that it's only by saying no that you can concentrate on the things that are really important. So that's the thing we want to focus on. When we close one door, another door opens. So don't be afraid to close the door. Focus on the things that matter most. And then we talked about how referrals make a difference. In a survey of over 3,000 business people, more than 50% of the respondents said that they got the majority of their customers through referrals. Referral business closes and converts 70% of the time. It's pretty amazing. For every 10 people that get sent your way, 7 of them will become clients. That's why referral marketing is so important. We can even measure that using Net Promoter Scores by asking how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague. If it's a 9 or 10, they're extremely likely. That's a positive Net Promoter Score. If we're looking at the 7 or 8, that's neutral, doesn't help us or hurt us, and then everything else is a detractor. So we can then decide what our Net Promoter Score by taking the number of promoters and subtracting out the detractors. I want to thank you all again for your own testimonials. I post them up on the website as soon as I receive them. Hugely valuable. I really appreciate you all taking the time to do this because I know it's going to support other coaches who are also in a place trying to decide where they want to go next. So thank you for that. And then we talked about your calendars, how you book and get your clients, right? So the idea there was to set up your Calendarly, Schedule Once, or Acuity schedule, and use that so it basically avoids all the back and forth around email. So when would you like to have your free powerful coaching session, right? It also makes it easy for your clients and even prospects who said no to refer you business opportunities. As you grow, you can also use pre-meeting questions to both help you better qualify prospects and even cancel meetings you don't want. And you can begin with that free version of the software to get you started. So we talked about systems and process, the calendar being at the center of it all, followed by basically a landing page that drives you into that calendar, any type of advertising support, also referred to as ClickFunnels, the offline tools, whether it's business cards, networking events, whether it's doing some direct mail, whether it's doing some outdoors, flyers, things like that. And then FaceTime in real life, right? The face-to-face interactions from public speaking, from networking. And then I shared with you this book, The $1 Million One-Person Business by Elaine Pulfrit. This is a fabulous book, not specifically designed and written for coaches, but talks about sort of how you can become $1 million one-person business. Great strategies in there, great resources, highly recommend it. And if you watch this video I sent to everyone from Peter Cook, he had a little Easter egg at the very end of the video where if you sent him an email, he'd send you a copy of his book. So if you haven't done that, I highly recommend going back and watching that Peter Cook video and sending him an email so you can get a copy of his book, because the Thought Leader Practice, hugely powerful. Very, very strong, powerful book. So before I go on, any outstanding burning marketing questions we haven't covered in the last 12 weeks? Because I know we covered a ton of material. I want to make sure we leave time tonight to talk about anything that we haven't covered, anything you still are thinking about. Did I lose you guys?
No, one of the things that came up for me, I think, when I watched the video from, I think it was last week or prior week, was how a person might go about identifying and podcasts that they might want to be a guest on, and then actually, getting that information.
That's great. So you're asking, and just for purposes of clarity, you want to go on to specific podcasts. You want to find out which podcast to identify that would be a good fit, and then how to reach out to those people who are the interviewers. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So the beautiful thing is there are so many podcasts out there. It's really going to start with what are the podcasts that your tribe listens to. Now, that can be as simple as just asking members of your tribe what they specifically listen to. But you can also Google them. I found that when I started doing some writing, it helped me because I was doing some writing on ink. People would reach out to me and ask if I wanted to do something on their podcast. That was an organic push. But what I realized when I could turn that on, it was just an opportunity to go out and see who is doing podcasts that are specifically targeting my audience. So when you can start to understand, knowing who your audience is, you can do a search on podcasts for that audience. Another thing you can do is for the content that you put together, look at those keywords around the content that you're developing. Do some searches on Google and see what podcasts show up for those keywords. Because any of those article content pieces you're writing, if there's a podcast that's dedicated to those topics, you're in. And it's a great way to do it. Once you've compiled your list of possible podcasts that you're interested in, then it's as simple as going back to the landing pages that are for each of these podcasts. The vast majority of podcasts not only show up on iTunes, but they also have Stitcher or other third-party sites, and all of those have landing pages talking about the hosts. And so usually there's a way to reach out to them via email or through Facebook Messenger, or their text message. They'll put up their phone number. So you can use that as a means to just reach out. When you do reach out, what you're doing is you're proposing that they interview you for a particular topic. And say, hey, I do a lot of public speaking around these areas, or I've written a lot of content around these particular topics. I would love to be a guest on your show. Here's what I would be thinking we'd talk about. Does that work for you? And the vast majority of them are starving for guests. And so if you sound like an interesting person with a good background that can talk authentically about that particular topic, most of the time you're going to get a yes. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Cool. Great question, and thank you for asking it. What else? I get that you're processing all this. There's a lot of content here over the last 12 weeks. I think it's important when you start to build out your action plan, you're thinking about sort of the different components that you're going to be building out to support that growth. Okay. If there's no
I
other...
feel like I have like a big, I don't know, encyclopedia of information now, and I'm in a place where I'm like, okay, how do I integrate all of this? Like wanting to make sure that I take advantage of everything that I've learned and start somewhere.
So it all starts with the powerful conversations, and you're just trying to maximize the number of powerful conversations you can have. From a systems and tool perspective, if you've got your calendar set up, that's the first place I would go to. And then it's a lot of word of mouth in the beginning. So even more so than content, even more so than all the other things we talked about, it's understanding how am I reaching to 50 people each and every week, minimum, right? And so from that perspective, it's who have I worked with in the past? Who knows people that are my tribe? How can I get closer to those individuals? And that's the outreach efforts that are going to really take you forward, because the more powerful coaching conversations you have, the faster your business is going to grow. And so I don't want to overcomplicate it. I wanted to go deep in these resources so you had a clear understanding of where to go from here. But as part of that process, it's really the simple version is I need to be able to get more people on my calendar that I can have powerful coaching conversations with. What will it take to do that? Everything else is just structurally supporting that outcome.
So,
Okay,
Bill, I have a question.
Way of looking at it.
Oh, so hold on a second, Mary. Did that answer, Tricia? Did that answer your question, or do you have?
Yeah, I think it's a really good way of like just helping sift through everything. Like, okay, just start here and get some traction going here, and then you can just build upon it with everything else. Exactly.
And there's a lot more ways to get more of those conversations happening, but the low-hanging fruit is the foundation. It's the calendar, and it's basically getting people on your calendar. And whether that's word of mouth, whether that's creating some creative business cards, whether that's leveraging assets like you have that are writing articles that sort of offer people a free coaching session, there's so many ways to get there. Don't get overwhelmed by the possibilities. Get excited about the fact that there's just no end to the ways in which you can do this one simple outcome.
Okay.
Cool. Excellent. Mayor, fire away. Oops. Hold on. Let's see if we lost Mayor.
Hi, it's Mare. It wasn't Mare. It was someone else.
Oh.
I was muted.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that.
Yep.
Well, if she comes back on, we'll answer the question. I'm sorry, I heard part of it as Tricia was trying to give feedback. So.
Yeah, no, yep, all is good.
Good.
Great questions tonight, too. Awesome.
Yeah, I agree, totally.
I think for me, I guess my question is, how do I keep the momentum of everything that I've learned fresh, exciting, invigorating to stay the course with where I want to go? Yes, I have a plan. I have my outcomes. I have all of those things that sometimes I know from the book that we read initially that you want to treat it like a blue-collar job where you check in, you sit down, but sometimes, it's challenging. So what are your thoughts on that, Bill?
The discipline equals freedom. If I go back to extreme ownership from the guys from the Navy SEALs, I really love this idea of discipline equals freedom. The idea that you are carving a certain number of hours a week that is dedicated to outreach, it's the understanding that it's really easy to get sidetracked and doing a bunch of busy work that doesn't produce results. But really, if you're tracking the activity report week in and week out, it's like, look, there are going to be days when I'm going to get sideswiped. I'm going to get pulled into things that are not necessarily productive. I'm going to get pulled into things that are important long-term but are not helping me short-term. I think the report card for yourself at the end of every week, when you track the number of conversations that you've had and how many of those turned into powerful coaching conversations, there is the truth. And if you're falling behind, it's right there on the report card, right? It's the way for you to check yourself and say, how many powerful conversations did I have this week? If it's one or two, I need to up my game, right? If I'm having them consistently every day, well then guess what? It's a numbers game. I need to be able to sort of see what I'm experiencing from these powerful coaching conversations and understand like how many of those are turning into actual coaching clients.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Well, if there's someone else who was trying to jump in earlier, and if you want to jump back in, please feel free. And if not, I'm going to continue on. Okay. So in terms of next steps, there actually is one final home play assignment. And that final home play assignment is to build your massive action plan, to develop your 2019 go-to-market plan to build your seven-figure coaching business. What actions are you willing to take in order to build your own seven-figure coaching business? This is really interesting because we are in the November timeframe. Next week is Thanksgiving, and it's a perfect time to take a step back and look at sort of what your plans are for 2019. And as this opportunity presents itself, you're going to have some downtime, especially over the Thanksgiving weekend. There's going to be at least a couple hours where you can basically step back and do a little bit of journaling exercise or write it out or do it however feels good for you. But writing down that 2019 go-to-market plan will give you sort of a high level of what it is that you're going to be accomplishing and what is that massive action plan to make sure you get there. You have some accountability built in. If you want to send me your completed homework, feel free. I'm happy to take a look at what you've pulled together. But that's really more of a bonus. It's not required. What I want you to do is give this gift to yourself. That your 2019 go-to-market plan, it really is, okay, given everything we've talked about over the last 12 weeks, here are the places where I'm committed to sort of, to following through and seeing the outcomes of these efforts.
Oh. Hey, Bill, it's Mare.
Yeah.
You are planning on sending us the recording for tonight's session as well, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Right after the phone.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure, just because I'm going to want to re-listen to what you just said about the plan for 2019. So
Great.
That's cool.
No problem. And what I'm going to ask for here as we close this out is I'm curious on a couple of levels. One, your thoughts about this last final class, any parting insights on the work we've done together overall, any recommendations for my 12/12 live event introducing this material, and if you're really brave, recommended price point on a 12-week course like this. I'd love to get your feedback, any or all of these.
The only possible insight that I have would be, it would be great if, like, I don't know, there was some sort of template for like your big plan, and where you could like take pieces and elements, you know, that points back to elements from different classes. Say, okay, you know, pull from this and put this here, pull from this and put that there.
I love that. That's great.
I think that would be like immensely helpful.
So you can see how to put those pieces together. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. That's good feedback. Thank you.
So hi, this is Mare. So first I want to say thank you for all this amazing material. And yes, there has been times where I'm drinking from a fire hydrant, but I'm glad I have these resources in my toolbox, because there will be a time when I will be using them. As far as feedback, I think one of the things that I really, me personally, I would have liked is throughout the course to touch base with the other people within the group to get more feedback from them outside of the classroom structure.
Okay. What would that look like for you, Mare? Like having a separate call that's just conversations and questions?
Oh, yeah, like say if someone, you know, you have a connection with someone and something they say resonates, to have them to have the permission, hey, yeah, you know what, we can connect, whether it's text or a call or an email. It's okay for us to connect other than the class.
Okay, cool. I like that.
Or maybe even a Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even a Facebook group.
A Facebook group for supporting each other as you're sort of going through the development phase?
Right, because what I have found is a lot of times you present all the material, we chew on it, and then as I'm going through the week, I'm like, I wonder what so-and-so would have thought about this, or how this one would have interacted. And we never really had that point in the through the whole time, like, yeah, I'm totally okay if you reach out. Like, I didn't ask either, but just to have it like open forum. So that way, as we're mulling through it and we come across our own questions, like we can reach out to our classmates to get additional insight, or I don't really know what Bill was thinking, maybe we should reach out to him, and it would be okay to do that.
Okay. That's great feedback. Thank you, Mare.
Yeah.
And I like the Facebook group suggestion as well. I found sometimes it feels a little overboard. It can feel like a little overboard on Facebook groups. But given if I created like a closed group that was specifically open to anybody who's taking this course and sort of supporting each other on that journey, I think that makes a lot of sense.
And I'd love to be able to even interact with people who, you know, the previous group, because I know there was a group before us, and anybody that comes after us, because I feel like, you know, we'll continue to learn and evolve as we go along and do the work. And, you know, there's obviously opportunities that are going to come up as we move forward to share information.
Excellent. That's excellent. So, yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is, as I go forward with this this next 12/12 live event and doing the next group, you'd still be open to joining a closed Facebook group for others that are taking this course, and in the future as well, to be someone who has gone through this and continuously learn and share based on the things that are coming up for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cool. All right. I'll see if I can make that happen. I mean, that's good. That's really good. That's a great insight, and I appreciate the recommendation. Okay. Any recommendations on just getting more people into the 12/12 live event in New York City?
Hi, it's Mare. As far as recommendations, mine are probably going to seem simple, but I guess just kind of doing more of those marketing blasts that you had shared of, and just maybe trying different times and putting it out that way. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've seen that there's more outreach I am currently in the process of doing on LinkedIn. There's a bunch of people who are coaches and a few coaches that have reached out to me recently that I'm connecting with. So I think there's some one-on-one activities there. There are some opportunities to do some coaching networking events. I've got one coming up next week, which I'll be going to, and that I'll also invite them in that way. And then just continually inviting the folks who have been through the program to also, if they know of other coaches who could benefit from this. My plan is to give, it's a good, hour and a half of, executive summary style content around what we've just gone through, so to give a good taste of what this program is about and get it good enough to basically get some foundational learning in that first class, if you're, in-person event, and then from there invite them into the 12-week course.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. To me, it sounds like you have a lot of your I's dotted and T's crossed, especially doing the high-level executive approach.
Yeah. Because I want to give them a sense of what this course is about and also give them some distinctions that will support them regardless of whether or not they engage.
And what is coming through for me is I love the fact that you got the video testimonials, and I'm thinking, wow, this is something that I should be asking people for me, because it's really powerful, because everybody has a different learning style, and it goes to show that all these different people have a lot of different takeaways, so there's a good value there.
Absolutely. Well, and one thing I'll just continue to reinforce, this being our last class together, what you get by achieving your goal is not as important as what you become by achieving your goals. I've referenced this quote by Henry David Thoreau throughout this work, but I think it's so important because it really does talk about sort of this process. The end game here isn't to become a seven-figure coach, in the sense that that's not the goal as much as what it takes to have you become a seven-figure coach. The journey along the way really sharpens your skills and gets you to get to a place where you love the process as much as you love coaching. Because really, when you do all the things we've been talking about over the last 12 weeks, it really is showing you the foundational components of building your brand, connecting with your audience, leveraging content, leveraging these different marketing strategies, that's going to strengthen your ability to serve your tribe at the highest level. So thank you. Thank you for staying with me on this 12-week journey. I appreciate everything you guys have contributed throughout. I'm really excited for all of the work that you guys are doing, and I've enjoyed this process and working with everyone. And, as I said, at the beginning, if there's any additional support you need throughout this, you can reach me out. You can reach out to me. You have my contact information from the emails I'm sending around, and this is my Calendarly link. If you need a coaching session to help you sort of just keep going with the work we're doing here, feel free to use that link, reach out, and we'll put some time in the calendar. All right?
I have a quick question.
Please,
so after your live event, because obviously I know, because I just finished coach training, so I know a lot of coaches, but not in New York. So are you going to do any other events in the future, maybe online or anything like that?
Yes. In fact, that's my next plan is to do an online version of what we're doing here in person. I wanted to do the first in-person event because I really wanted to try to connect face-to-face. I find when I do live events and speaking, I get real-time feedback. It's, when we're doing something like what we're doing right now, I don't get the body language. I don't get to see your facial expressions. I don't see, are you totally engaged with me or are you multitasking? I don't get to see that, right? So the reason this first event I wanted to do live is because I really want to have that direct feedback as I'm doing it, because it really helps me to create a better product. But then the goal is the next one that I do will be a web version of this. So that same, our 90 minutes of deep content around what we just talked about would definitely be, through virtual so that more people can participate.
Okay. Well, when you do that, I definitely want to be able to share it because most of the people I know are in the Chicago area.
Great.
And we have my cohort actually formed a Facebook group. So this is
awesome.
definitely that I could post to that group and say, hey, this is available online. I just did it, and be able to promote it.
One other component there too is that last year I did 5 speaking engagements in Chicago, maybe 6. And the reason I share that with you is because if there's enough of an interest there, I would be happy to host a free in-person event in Chicago, piggybacking on one of my other speaking engagements. So what I can do is you and I can talk about that afterwards. If you think that's valuable, I'm happy to do it in person if you think there's enough interest, and we can pull that together. I'm happy to do it.
Yeah,
cool.
I definitely think that it would be valuable. I mean, I don't know how much pull I have with getting people to show up in person, especially in Chicago, and how, Chicago traffic being Chicago, what it is.
Totally.
But I definitely can do everything possible to help, promote it. And actually, my coach, who's also one of the CTI trainers, is Chicago-based as well. So there's actually a really large CTI community in Chicago.
Beautiful. That's awesome. Well, thank you for that. On both fronts, whether we do this virtually or physically, I really appreciate that opportunity to connect and serve with more coaches in the Chicagoland area. So thank you for offering that up. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for all that you've done and for offering this opportunity to us. I feel blessed to have been in this group.
Thank you, and I feel very fortunate that you joined us and participated and played full out the way you have. So thank you for that, and that goes for everyone. I really feel like this has been a very mutually beneficial exercise for me because not only am I able to share the 25 years of marketing excellence that I've now tried to put directly into the coaching framework, but also to be able to get that feedback, to get that, what's working, what's not working, helping me sort of tweak and change the model as we go. That's been hugely valuable, so thank you for the participation. Excellent. With that, I will sign off, stop the recording, and I will send you guys all a copy of what we just did tonight, and we will go from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate your time. Take care.
Bye.